Hey guys, I'm Think Tank. You might know me from videos like A Unity Dev Learns Godot Parts 1 through 6 and Is Godot Good? In fact, most of you probably know me from Is Godot Good? You might remember that at the beginning of that video I mentioned an app that I have or had released on the Google Play and Apple App Stores called Real Chimes. It's a fully customizable, physically simulated set of wind chimes that you can configure and place in different environments with unique ambiances and color palettes. I designed it to help people calm down, meditate, or fall asleep to. I actually released a couple videos using it to try and generate some interest on this channel early on, which you can still watch if you want to. What you probably aren't aware of though is that the app is unfortunately only available on the Apple App Store now, and only in non-EU member countries, and that's the main reason for this video. The EU's Digital Services Act trader requirements forces developers to provide personal information including their physical address if they want to provide paid or monetized products or services to EU countries, even if they're a personal entity like an indie developer. I know that you can find this information about nearly anyone if you really want to, but having it so readily accessible is a big issue for a lot of indie developers like myself and raises serious concerns about privacy and safety. The DSA is supposed to provide customers with better protection of fundamental rights, more control and choice, and easier reporting of illegal content, as well as stronger protection of children online, such as prohibition of targeted advertisement to minors, less exposure to illegal content, and more transparency of content moderation decisions. That's well intentioned, I think, but the trader requirements it contains end up violating indie developers' rights to privacy, so it feels like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. How those rules are enforced is at least to some degree up to the platforms that host the content. Apple, for its part, only enforces the developer transparency aspect if the app is available in the EU, and they let you use a PO box for your address if you have one. So I can still keep my app available to people in the US and other countries that don't have the DSA, or I could get a PO box if I still wanted it to be available in the EU. Google decided it was going to force everyone to disclose that information regardless of where the app was available though, so I had to pull the app down for personal privacy reasons. I tried a lot of things to get around this, legally of course, on the Play Store. I was going to use a PO box, but that's not allowed per Google's documentation like I just said. Then I thought I could remove all monetization on the app, but that didn't work either because once you've declared your developer account to be monetized, it will show that information regardless of the app being monetized or not. What I finally ended up doing was just delisting the app and creating a closed beta test track to keep my account from getting deactivated, but still allow me to give access to people who I want to let use the app. This isn't an ideal solution though, and leaves me with 2 final options. Either I can form a single user LLC and register it using a service that provides a business address for me, or I can make a new Google Play developer account that is non-monetized and transfer the app ownership to that account. But then I never have the option of making money off of it, which is kind of a bummer. Making the app unmonetized by removing ads also means that people who paid for it before now just get the same experience as people who didn't. And doing that to people who paid to have the ads removed and support me feels wrong. The plan was always to form an LLC eventually. I thought I could get a job and make some money before this happened, but I haven't been able to get one yet. It turns out the job market is pretty bad. This is an all-around depressing situation for me, and a lot of other indie developers. There are lots of forum posts talking about it, and how people are just giving up on developing apps for mobile app stores. And I guess I'm one of those people now. At least for the near future. I put my heart and soul into making Real Chimes. I wanted to make something unique that people enjoyed and could maybe even help them. And I wanted to show that I could do cross-platform development to any potential employers. At this point, I wouldn't recommend trying to develop an app at all if you're an indie, especially not for Google if you want to make money off of it. But it's more than just their enforcement of DSA requirements that have me burnt out. Even if you don't want to make money from it, the process of getting the app accepted, verified, compliant with every little regulation, and then doing some of those steps again every time you release a new update or a new regulation is handed down is stifling. Apple is even harder to publish apps on than Google is, and both platforms offer little or no support for developers to navigate these confusing and complicated processes. I had to resort to a lot of forum searching, mostly on Reddit, to find answers to some questions because while there are ways to contact Google and Apple, it's a slow process and there aren't options for help with a lot of the difficult parts of submitting your app for approval and complying with legal requirements, because they can't offer that kind of help legally. I actually have another game I made a couple years ago at this point, before I decided to start learning Godot. It's almost done and basically fully playable. It's in sort of an early beta state, but I can't release it now, and I don't really have the desire to anymore either. One of the reasons I was so open to learning Godot was because I was already getting burnt out with mobile development when the whole runtime fee thing happened. So I was okay with learning a new engine that didn't have the same level of support for mobile development. I remember when mobile was a place for interesting ideas and innovation, and a guy could release an app that was just a fluid simulation that looked like a beer, or a game where you flicked trash into a basket, or heck, even a game with stolen Nintendo assets and be successful. It's not like that anymore. It's just the same game copied a million times by game mills using asset packs and weird marketing. It's not like the demand isn't there either. There are more people playing mobile games now than there ever were. Before I got into developing mobile apps, I thought it was because it was just easier to copy what everyone else was doing. But now I think the reason there's so little innovation anymore is because of how companies are handling their platforms. It gets increasingly harder to navigate the process of even getting your app on the store that it dissuades anyone with a novel idea from trying to make it, because if it isn't a proven idea, you really have no guarantee of success. And for the amount of trouble it is, it's not worth it for most people. Most indie developers seem to feel the same way, at least the ones that talk about it. But if you disagree, I hope you can at least understand why it's so frustrating for many of us. Even if someone is okay with having their personal information so easily available, I want them to know what they're getting themselves into if they decide to publish an app as an individual or small team, and just how complicated the whole process has become. I don't want to kill anyone's dreams here. If you have an idea that you're passionate about, try it. I did. Just know that this isn't as easy as you might think, which I guess few things are anyway, so who cares? Well, maybe one day we can get better legislation and requirements that can truly protect both parties, and maybe mobile app store owners can make the process of releasing apps easier. But that will never happen if we don't talk about it and air our grievances about how things are affecting us indie developers. If you want to help me get my app back up on Google, because despite everything I'd like it to still be available one day, you can subscribe and watch my videos. If you found me through this video, I make Godot-focused content right now as I recreate and expand my first game, but I want to make videos about other engines and general game development stuff too in the future. Since I'm monetized now, you can even leave a super chat if you want to contribute more directly. I know probably none of you have used my app, and you know, it's kind of rough around the edges, being my first finished piece of software, but I think it's still pretty cool. So if you want to try it out, I've released it for Windows on itch.io for free. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching. I hope it was helpful if you're an aspiring mobile developer or somebody who finds themselves in the same situation as me. I appreciate any form of support, even if it's just liking the video or subscribing. You guys are helping me achieve my dreams piece by piece, and I appreciate it so much. If you want to, you can follow me on Twitter or Instagram from the links below, and I'll see you guys in whatever my next video is. Bye.